Hi, I will be talking to you about the challenges that I have trouble on coping about my disability. I have autism, including a learning disability, along with some cognitive disability, ever since I was born through currently. And it's been a hard thing to talk about. Coping with the challenges of my disability in public places with people I know and friends because I get judged by other people about having challenges and struggles and it's a big challenge and when it comes to like work doing like volunteering or even in a workplace, I struggle being in a fast-paced environment. I struggle to figure out how to communicate my thoughts with other coworkers or other volunteers on different tasks and to learn how to do a task efficiently. And when I struggle with these things in a volunteering or in a work setting, people get easily flustered at me. Sometimes I deal with coworkers or other volunteers where they bully me or use vulgar language, or they call me like slowpoke or call me words like retard, and which kind of makes me feel uncomfortable in a sense. When I deal with this in a work setting or in a volunteering setting, I just try to ignore it, but also I feel kind of uncomfortable about myself. And when I get home from work or when I get home from volunteering, I always kind of like feel really uncomfortable about myself in these kind of settings and dealing with when people get mad at me when I try my best to be a good person in these situations like in a job or in volunteering. And what I always try to do is I always try to brainstorm about what does it mean to be a good worker, or what does it mean to be a good volunteer. And when it comes to this, I always think to myself that in my own definition of what it means to be a good worker is to have critical thinking as a way to help expand on learning or to try to understand different situations. Another thing that I like to think of is um, being creative at figure out how to do a task efficiently and and trying to always be mindful of other coworkers or volunteers that I'm around in a setting, and also try to be compassionate for people who have struggles in life or in a work setting or in volunteering. And I always try to tell myself that it's also as important to do in a work setting or in volunteering is to pay attention to details because, you know, it's always good to focus on paying attention to details to make sure that things are safe for people to use or for people to eat, or, for example, to make sure that we have products that are ready for people to use. And I always like to make sure that it is very safe for people in general to use. Um, and I understand that, you know, in this economy or sometimes these volunteering things, that everybody wants people to be fast paced. And I can understand that sometimes, but how people get negative at me, what they kind of go farther, what they make fun of me or put me down, it kind of hits me hard. And every day I have to tell myself that one is that I'm a human being, two, that continue to have the good principles of what it means to be a good worker or a good volunteer, like I've mentioned previously, and also to also be um, try my best to be creative at developing better strategies to improve myself in different situations. Another thing that I struggle, this is a big one that's really hard in general to talk about in nowadays, is I struggle with friendships a lot. I've had friendship problems ever since I was born when I was in elementary, middle school, high school, community college, and currently is because I basically kept getting bullied and being put down for having a disability. And also, when I was in educational settings, I would have a teacher assistant or be in a special art class where they would help me try to learn how to do assignments, help me with reading, help me with trying to learn things. And I used to get teased a lot by kids and sometimes teachers and sometimes professors at a community college. And it was very challenging. And then um, with the friendship stuff kind of got really much tough for me was because whenever they were peers of my friends, when they would bully me or even put me down, most of my friends would kind of align with them, and it really hit me really hard. And then I even was even bullied in doing like many social activities like being in a swim club or being in a high school swim team or in a high school band, where I was even bullied about having struggled with learning or struggle with trying to comprehend on materials. And it was very challenging. And during those times when I was in school or in high school, I always try to tell myself that the best thing that I can do is try to be creative at learning, that it's okay to be diverse in learning things. Like, for example, if I need to use like an audiobook to help me understand reading material, then that's okay. Or if I need to watch documentaries or go to or watch YouTube as a way to learn about things, and that's okay too. And that. Also, when it comes to friendships, I kind of have dealt with where I dealt with many friends that and people that I knew that would ghost me sometimes through messaging or in person, and many of them would tell me that they really don't want to be friends with somebody with a disability, and they view me as someone who isn't perfect for them. And sometimes I get blamed for problems that I didn't cause, or sometimes they tell me that my disability makes them unhappy. And it's hard in general because makes me feel kind of insecure about myself, and I always keep questioning myself, like, am I a bad person for having a disability? Am I a bad person for not being able to learn efficiently? Or am I a bad person for not doing well on trying to communicate with other people in different settings or to understand conversations or different subjects? And what I've had to done a lot of research into myself is like I go on like Google, YouTube, and I go to like TED Talks trying to figure out what does it mean to be a good friend. And what I've learned from these materials and from myself is what it means to be a good friend is to be kind to other people, try to be a good listener to other people that have struggles, or just to have fun topics. Um, Try to always think of others when they're having a hard time or when they make an accomplishment. I always try to support people who I care about or who I know who are very creative on different things, to let them know, hey, I'm really proud of you for working hard in this achievement, and I want to send you positive thoughts and positive vibes. And that's the best thing that I can do a lot. And there's days that my learning of what it means to be a good friend doesn't work all the time, and I have to tell myself that that's the best thing that I've learned and what I can do. And sometimes I feel disappointed in myself when people tell me that I'm not a good friend or that not a good person to them, and many of them kind of like spread bad rumors about me through social media or in person to other people, and it really hits me hard. Another thing too that I struggle with coping with the challenges that I have is when it comes to social media like Facebook and Instagram, sometimes YouTube, sometimes TikTok, where I get, or including Messenger, where I get bullied about having a disability or just being different from other people, or and sometimes I get hateful messages, sometimes like death threats, sometimes people making jokes about how they think I should take my own life, and other forms of bad rumors where it basically affects me a lot because I really want to believe that there are some parts that are good on social media instead of all the bad parts of social media. And what I always try to do in this situation is when it comes to social media in general, I always try to jot down to myself or to think to myself about what is my vision for social media for me or what it should be. And when it comes to having a vision of social media, I try to always try to follow the best I can called the smart on social media. So when it comes to being smart on social media, I always try to think about what do I want to present myself. And when it comes to social media, I always want to present myself as somebody who is supportive of people who I care about or people who have really good creative content that focus on being creative while addressing the important issues that we face in a healthy and mainstream way, and also to use social media as a way to be creative, to share with people what you do, and also to not use social media as a way to hate other people for being different, including people with disabilities, or to even talk trash about people that you know or that you care about. And it's a big struggle for me to always try to be smart on social media because a lot of times, about 100% of the time, it doesn't work. And sometimes I have to sit down and think to myself, what is going on? Or like, what happens if people want to rely on communicating on social media, but if they never want to respond to your messages or if they don't want to um, really acknowledge on how you are trying to make a difference or how you're trying to work hard to overcome challenges, or if you're trying to be a supportive person to the person that you care about, then it gets challenging. And it basically on social media, the best thing that I can do is when I see somebody that has a creative content or that worked hard in their achievement or when they're struggling through hard times, all I can just say is I'm thinking of good thoughts and saying positive vibes to you. And that or sometimes like if I am inspired by someone's creativity, I would say, I'm really inspired by what you do. I really am inspired by how you are trying to be a better person in a world where it is very complicated. And that's what I basically can try to do on social media. And also, another strategy that I do on social media is I try to take a break from posting on social media, maybe take a 3 months or maybe 12 months or maybe a few years off from social media. But the problem with I struggle with social media is that social media has a tough algorithm where it makes it complicated, where it can actually block my account, where a lot of people that want to communicate with me through social media would say, "How can we communicate with you when you don't when social media has glitches or blocks you or it, it makes it hard for you to go into your account?" And all I can basically just do is just say, I have an email, a phone number, and text as a way to better communicate with me. And what the problem with that is many people who heavily rely on social media, they get easily mad at me and kind of put me down, say, why do you want to have a phone number or why do you have an email? And I just tell them that that's the best way to communicate with me. And I prefer it that way, just in case if social media has problems or if I feel very uncomfortable about being bullied on social media through posts or through messaging, that I feel comfortable doing that. And what I always try to remind myself is that I'm not mad at any people who use social media, or I don't have any negative against any social media influencers. But the main thing that I would like for social media influencers, including creative content people and people who use social media in general, is to have compassion for people who have struggles, to be kind to other people, including people with disabilities, and also to try to be understanding when people have struggles in life. And that when people have struggles in life, or when they talk about having struggles in life in social media or on TikTok or on YouTube, that doesn't mean that they are negative people. They are just trying to do the best as they can to try to learn how to navigate life, how to understand things, and trying to figure out how to comprehend in a society where we have a lot of doubtfulness. Another thing that I want to also talk about that's been a big challenge for me is I deal with getting bullied by women, including some girls and some women, about having a disability. And even they use vulgar language or sometimes sexual harassment or other forms of harassment, sometimes in public places or sometimes in a work setting or other volunteering. And it really makes me very uncomfortable when they make fun of me about having a disability, and sometimes they make jokes about me being like basically retarded and a lot, and they feel like, and even when I try to figure out how to talk to a girl or how to talk to a woman, sometimes I get made fun of about how I'm socially awkward, and they make me feel um, saying a lot of cool things, and it makes me hard, and it makes me very scared about myself, being around girls and women, because I'm always afraid that I'm going to continue getting bullied and harassed, and and I'm afraid that if I even speak up about talking to a girl or woman when they make fun of me, try to tell them like, hey, much as I respect you as a person, but when you say mean things, it makes me uncomfortable, and and what makes me scared about saying this to like a woman or girl is that they kind of escalate further, where it makes me extremely uncomfortable. And when I deal with this thing a lot, I have to brainstorm to myself and try to realize like how do I navigate in a society where I deal with getting bullied by some women, some girls about be different or having a disability in a public setting, in a work, or in volunteering, or on social media. And I have to tell myself that, you know, try to avoid listening to a lot of like outside noise. Like, for example, like if you have like one group says wants to discriminate against women or talk bad about women, I have to ignore that. Or if the other side says like, hey, we support women who can easily bully somebody for being different or with a disability, or they can falsely spread bad rumors about you. And I try to say, not think about that noise and try to be in the center. So when it comes to being the center, I always try to look at this as like, I strongly believe that women should have the right to choose, and I believe women should have the right to make their own decision when it comes to their health. And also, I believe that women should deserve equal pay and equal treatment, whether it's in a work setting or volunteering or in public places, and that women shouldn't face any forms of bad harassment. And that is my approach to believing women's rights. And another thing that I try to do is when I deal with trying to not think too much about when women and girls bully me, is I try to look research about influential women that are in acting or public official, or women that are in different history, where I try to look up their achievements, whether it's ranging from advocating for social justice, disability rights, environmental protection, criminal justice reform, and other issues. And I like to focus on that as a way to not think about the whole stuff. But sometimes it can be a big mentally draining when I deal with the constant of being bullied and harassed by some women and some girls. And what I also want to say is that when it comes to a girl who I admire or who I care about or who I am inspired by, I when it comes to that is I really want a woman or a girl to feel confident about who they are. I want them to feel good about them, trying to do the best they can in life, whether it's through creative content or just even just trying to figure out how to navigate life, where all I can just say is, I care about you, I support you, And I want to know that I want to let them know that I'm always thinking of good thoughts and positive vibes for them, and let them know that I am not judging you. And my thought is for women is I wish that many women, including girls, could have the ability to be kinder, be compassionate, have an understanding, be a good listener, and to be extremely kind to people who have disabilities or people who have struggled with communication, or sometimes people who struggle with social situations in different social settings, and that. Another thing that also I want to say is that I'm very, very concerned about the anti-disability stigma that is being presented in politics today, where we have a former presidential candidate, I call him the T word, but also other political candidates, sometimes from Republicans or Democrats or from certain extreme parties, where they aren't supportive of people with disability rights or always try to blame people with disabilities as a problem for society. And when they ever present this in the news media, or when it comes to trying to push for anti-disability rights, anybody that's in like the judicial system or the government system or in elected officials, it makes me extremely concerned because um, I deal with a lot of people who believe what they say, and I deal with a lot of harsh judgment from other people about myself being having disability, where people make fun of me or people try to discourage me from um, trying to feel comfortable about voting, or even trying to um, feel comfortable about being in a safe setting or in a public setting. And I really do wish that we could have more people in public office, including our judicial system or in other capacities, that are willing to support people with disability rights, and to be understanding that when people with disabilities are struggling in the workplace or in public places, that they aren't bad people. They're just people just trying to navigate situations, and many of them may need extra help. And I've dealt with my fair share of struggles. I'm trying to navigate like the healthcare system, or even trying to navigate work setting where I feel like I don't have many people who can advocate for people with disabilities, or to be understanding of my accommodations and of my struggles. And I really do hope that we can do that. And also, another factor that I've been really extremely concerned about is when we talk about DEI, known as diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many people who, like, including educational leaders and sometimes DEI certifiers, where they talk about diversity, but equity and inclusion, but they don't want to support um, people with disabilities rights, or to bring people with disabilities in the conversation. And it's a really big concern for me, because as somebody with a disability, I have faced a lot of forms of discrimination and hate in public places, in different previous volunteering, or in previous jobs, or even in educational settings, where I face a lot of barriers and struggles without trying to get the much help that I wish I could. And the reason why it's been very hard for me to be very vocally expressing concerns about diversity, equity, inclusion is because many people who promote this stuff will make you feel like you're a bad person for expressing concerns about it, or even they might use DEI as a way to increase bullying or harassment against people with disabilities, and to even make people with disabilities feel bad. Um, I will share you what my vision and my approach from learning about diversity, equity, inclusion, and this is from my previous experience in doing my own research taking going to lectures, taking modules, and even reading a book about diversity, equity, inclusion by a very author who I really admire named Lily Zen. And what I basically want to say is, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, I strongly believe that women, minorities, people with disabilities, people with different skills, people with different orientation, including sexual orientation, should be included in society, in education, and in public places without any forms of harassment or being bullied for being different. Also, when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, we should also be allowed to provide accommodations to people with disabilities, including people who have trouble with mobility, people who have learning disabilities, people with autism spectrum, people who struggle with mental health, or people with other forms of autism spectrum, that there should be accommodations to help them to be able to be part of the community in education, in work, in volunteering, and other forms of public places. And I also want to say that when it comes to dealing with the harsh realities of people trying to promote discriminations against people with disabilities, I always try to study many people who are civil rights activists from history, like Martin Luther King Jr., W.E.B. Du Bois, or I always do my own research about learning about activists who are supporting people with disabilities, including like Helen Keller, as a way to help me cope with myself, to realize there are some people that really want to make a world a better place. And that's basically what I do a lot. Another subject that I kind of also want to say is that I am a mixed race, where I am um, an Asian American, and it's a really big challenge for me to be vocal and to be open to talk about being an Asian American with a disability in general, is because a lot of times some Asians and some Asian Americans get judgmental about me having a disability and not meeting the standards, or sometimes some of them use culture as a way to hate against people with disabilities like me, and to even bully me. And it's very, very scary for me, because I've dealt in the past where I've been in some social groups, in some events where they promote Asian American stuff, but I deal with getting bullied in there and even harassed by some of them. It makes me very comfortable. Sometimes they um, tease me or provoke me, or even try to get me in very uncomfortable situations, which I'm not very comfortable talking about. And what's been going on is we have this thing called the Stop Asian Hate. And the reason why I don't really want to be very vocal about the Stop Asian Hate is because I don't want many people to view me as being against the movement. I more want to be smart about it, have common sense, and critical thinking. So when it comes to the Stop Asian Hate, I do agree with the fundamental idea in my philosophy, is that there should not be any hate against Asians or Asian Americans, and there should be no promoting hate or bigotry or even discrimination policy against them. But what am very concerned about is how people use the Stop Asian Hate as a way to bully somebody with a disability, or to even put down some Asians and some Asian Americans who are very creative or diverse in different ways of learning, or how they can contribute to society. And so my main big philosophy and my main thinking of when it comes to being an Asian American with a disability, in my approach, in my thinking, in my experience, is that the Asian American community should be accepting of Asian Americans or Asians with disabilities or mental health. They should also be accepting of many Asians or Asian Americans that are diverse in different ways or are very creative or in some way contribute to society. And that they must recognize that diversity is good and they should allow Asians and Asian Americans to be to help educate people about culture, but also educate people about how to be kind to other people who are different or people with disabilities. And that's my main approach when it comes to being an Asian American with a disability and trying to figure out how to understand how to navigate when people use some of these issues for the wrong reasons. I also been struggling a lot is trying to feel safe in public settings or social settings when I deal with getting bullied and put down. And what I've basically been doing a lot is I've been writing letters to a lot of influential people, ranging from public officials, celebrities, actors and actresses, news reporters, including news anchors from all across America, and I write to them where I express how they inspire me to work hard on my disability or how their work really teaches me about how to be a better person or how to improve myself or to have the ability to be compassionate and many others. Also, when it comes to write to actors and actresses, I always write to them about how I admire their character, whether they make the character development on trying to be a human being when they face struggles or how they improve themselves or critical thinking. And I try to tell them that their characters that they play really inspire me to try to work hard on myself, but also try to have the ability to be a human being with compassion, kindness, um, critical thinking, and also I like to mention when I write letters to actors and actresses to tell them that um, thank you for being inspiration to me, but also thank you for being supportive on people with disability rights causes and social justice causes as a way to try to make society a better place. And I like to thank them for that. And so far, when it comes to writing letters, it can always be challenging because sometimes my letters get rejected by people in general because sometimes they view somebody with a disability as bad, or sometimes they view people with disabilities as awkward, and sometimes I get like letter rejections from people telling me that I'm just too awkward to want to write to somebody, or they make a letter statement where they view say that a person with a disability shouldn't be part of society, or it's really weird to write to somebody. And it's hard when I deal with some of these rejections from people, and sometimes like other people where I write to, and all I can basically just do is just try to cope with myself to tell them that I'm still am a human being, because I really want to recognize people who want to do good work, but also people who inspire me, and that's all I can basically just do. And so I do hope that in the near future that there could be more people when I write to them that they could take the time to respond back to me through mail, and to even deep down know that I really do admire them for all the good work that they try to do, or when they try to make a world a better place, whether it's ranging from disability rights, criminal justice reform, universal health care reform, and environmental protection, or other social justice, to know that, hey, um, thank you for trying to do what you do, and thank you for trying to spread the good awareness of what needs to make society a better place. And also, I consider myself to be a Christian, and I usually don't talk about being religion very openly because, as a Christian myself, I face many harsh judgment from a lot of religious communities, or sometimes people who are very religious about having a disability. Sometimes I deal with people who are very religious, where they kind of view somebody with a disability as bad, or as a sin, and they say a lot of terrible things. And um, it usually hits me hard a lot because I feel ashamed about myself being like a Christian sometimes when people use religion as a way to hate or use prejudice against somebody who is struggling. When it comes to myself as a Christian, I tend to be a strong, firm believer that God wants people to learn from their mistakes. I believe in God wants people to help people who are poor or disadvantaged or disabled, and that wants to support health universal health care as a way to help people who struggle with health care or people with pre-existing conditions to get the health care that they need, and to try to accept diversity in some ways. Also, as myself as a Christian, I try to use myself as a way to try to figure out what does it mean to be a good Christian, and what would God, Jesus, and Moses, who I consider my inspirational religious figures, as to figure out what they want me to do. And so, as a Christian, I always try to be supportive of people who I care about, and I even pray for people to do well in life, or to make sure that people feel that they can have some kind of self feeling that somebody really cares about them. And when I usually pray, I try to pray for a lot of people in general, including people who do bad things. I mean, like, if they make mistakes, I always try to pray to God, saying, like, that I hope that people can have the ability to be kind, compassionate, have critical thinking, and to even learn from their mistakes to be a better person. And that's all I basically do. And also, as a Christian myself, I do not support anybody who uses religion as a tool of hate, or as a form of discrimination, or as a way to put somebody down. And that's what it basically is for me as a Christian. And also, when it comes to people being mean and putting me down all the time, all I basically can do is just try to hold myself together. Sometimes I have to cry. Sometimes when I go to the bathroom, or sometimes when I come home, I cry in my room, and sometimes I can't sleep at night. And all I can just say is that I do hope and wish and want people to be kinder in general. I want people to be understanding, and people willing to have the ability to have emotional intelligence. And because as myself, I'm not very comfortable at criticizing people or groups of people or generations, but I do wish that these generations, or people I know in general, or people in general, or can have the ability to have the good things that they should have, and also the good practices and the good life lessons that they should have, instead of being mean, instead of putting people down, instead of being bullies or saying uncomfortable, controversial things. And that. Also, when it comes to feeling insecure about myself being bullied, or when I ever deal with people getting mean to me, I spend time watching TV and movies. I even spend time with my historical figures called the Little Thinkers, where it's from a very good company called the Unemployed Philosophers Guild, where I admire the company for making so many historical figures, where I spend time with them and playing with them, and just looking at them to admire them for being unique, and to try to remind myself that it's okay to be unique in different ways, but willing to have the ability to try to do better, or try to be creative at figuring out how to navigate society. Also, I do volunteering too. So, for the past 5 to 6 years, I've been volunteering with a small community group in downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I help feed homeless people, including people with low income, where I try to provide them with like canned goods or other essential items, including grocery bags, to help them have a sense of security, because I strongly believe that it's very important to help people who are disadvantaged, whether it's through poverty, through mental health, or where they lost a safety net of like having a place to live or having health insurance or having food stamps. I always try to make sure that people who are disadvantaged can get a safety net or can get some food. And so when I do this volunteering, it teaches me about the importance of helping others, trying to be compassionate for people when they have struggles in life, and try to remind myself that I'm not alone when I struggle with harsh things in life, that everybody struggles in life. And also, I try to do is send positive vibes to many people who are struggling during this volunteering group, where I try to remind people who are homeless or people who want to come that we are thinking of good thoughts for you. We can provide you with extra food if we have enough, and always trying to reassure them that we have some food to give to you and that. Um, So that's basically what it's like for me coping with my disability, and it's hard a lot because sometimes I get easily depressed and feeling uncomfortable, and sometimes I kind of feel like hopeless a lot and feel like I want to give up on life, and it's hard. Um, but the thing that always tried to remind myself is that being a human being is normal, and having a disability isn't a bad thing. It's just that it takes a lot of time to rethink, to reorganize, to figure out what is the best way you can navigate. And also what I've learned with my disability is that it's okay to have some strengths and some weaknesses, but sometimes my weaknesses are much stronger than my strengths. So sometimes that puts me down. But the best thing that I can basically do is focus on my strengths, but also be creative on how to improve myself when it comes to weaknesses, or just be creative and that. There are things that I would like to do in the near future or currently is I would definitely would like to meet more people that I have written to and have wanted me to meet with them. I would definitely would like to have more of experience of I would like to have more experience of traveling to certain places that I can easily travel, like to like Los Angeles, Philadelphia, or certain other places that have good public transportation or metro system that I can rely on, and also to continue visiting historical sites and museums and certain attractions like Disney parks as a way to try to enjoy myself, but also just have fun and just be creative and be unique. Well, when it comes to friends in general, my goal has kind of shifted to like drifting away and kind of like taking a break. But when it comes to like me taking a break, it's more basically about me trying to organize myself to figure out how do I better cope with myself with my disability. How do I understand myself as trying to be a better human being? What does it mean to be a good friend? And trying to learn how to navigate when issues are very divisive in politics, or when issues divide our country further away, and that. And it can be tricky too, because many people can assume that it means that I'm antisocial, but it's not really antisocial. It's more like trying to figure out the right steps and that. And also, I would like to someday meet some people who do creative content, because I am inspired by their creativity, and their creativity helps me try to be creative on different things, or to even to be interested in learning some things in general. And that's basically what my most goals are, I think. And I plan on continuing to do volunteering to help people who are homeless or people with low income. I'm still gonna continue writing letters to influential people that really inspire me, and I'm going to try to continue on figure out how to balance myself to improve my healthy lifestyle, whether it's eating healthy or exercising as a way to better cope with my disability. And my other thing that I'm been basically just trying to practice more on is doing small talk like with other people as a way to try to be understanding people better, trying to be a good listener. Like for example, I might say, "How are you?" or "How was your weekend?" Or like if somebody was traveling or did something fun, I might say, "How was the event?" or "How was your trip?" or "What did you do?" And so just try to talk like small talk as a way to just try to understand people better, but also try to be mindful of other people too, because sometimes I struggle with trying to understand people too. Sometimes people don't want to talk too much, or sometimes people are in a rush, or sometimes people are very aggressive and are mean. And so that's the best thing that I basically can do. And also continue to be mindful of other people that are around me. Um, I'm not very great at giving advice to many people, including people with disabilities, but the best thing that I can tell all of you is it's okay not to be okay about things. It's okay if you're different or diverse in many ways, and but the most important thing is it's always important to remind yourself that you are a human being, and that it's very important to have compassion, kindness, understanding, and critical thinking, and the ability to learn and the ability to improve yourself will make you a better person. And also, when it comes to people that want to heavily rely on social media, they should be also be mindful about how to communicate with people when people don't feel that social media is the right fit for everybody. They should be willing to accept people doing email or phone or text as a way of communication. And that's basically what I can say. And I hope many of you will be willing to take the time to watch this video and to try to understand what I'm saying, and to be understanding that I'm just trying to be a human being despite dealing with challenges or negativity in society or in social media or other forms of social settings. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me.